train. In a minute, there's gonna be a freight train go that way. Bet you. Or those army trains that go past with tanks on them every now and again, coming past Colchester with a helicopter that flies past them sometimes as well. They have nightmares. They're about a mile long, and they just make the whole flat shake. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. See, trains. They're going to be going past constantly now. All I do is take portraits of dogs. If you buy something for 150 quid and you don't use it in 6 weeks time, you're probably going to be able to flog it for 150 quid. Stand by me. Would I ever do you wrong? You can set... There's 3 trains going past right now. 3 trains. There's only 4 lanes. Lines. Train. Only the one this time. Right. First, I want to apologise for the sound. It's currently an late June heatwave in the UK. It's, I think the outside temperature is 30, 31, 32 maybe. I think it's like that. It's 30, but it feels like 31 or 32. I closed the window, started setting everything up, the lights and the sound and all that sort of stuff. And the temperature got up in here to like 35, I think. It got really warm in here. So I've had to open the window, and just outside the window is train tracks and other stuff. But I've done some sound tests, and this mic, you can hear it in the background, but it shouldn't be too bad. If it is, I have to re-record it when it's a bit cooler. So, point of this video is, if you think you want to get into photography, you think, right? Or maybe you know, but you don't know. I mean, if you've used your brother's, sister's, boyfriend's, girlfriend's, mum, dad, aunt, uncle, whoever's camera a lot, and you know how it works, and you know the difference between aperture and shutter speed and all that sort of stuff, and you know what you're doing, and you know you need your own camera to progress the hobby and what you want to do, fine, this video isn't really for you. This video is more aimed at the sort of person who thinks they want to do photography, thinks they want to play around with an SLR or a mirrorless or something like that, and they're looking at what they think they should get. So, in my opinion, you should buy one of these. And I don't specifically mean... This is a Nikon D3300. This is my first ever interchangeable lens camera. I've had this 3 or 4 years now. It's a 6-year-old camera. I think it's a 6-year-old camera. Which doesn't seem that old really in the grand scheme of things, since people are still out there using 20, 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old 35mm. But a lot has changed since this came out. There is a lot that this doesn't have. It doesn't do slow-mo. It records video only in 24, 25 or 30 frames per second. I don't think it does 50 and 60. I'm going to put money on it saying it doesn't. It doesn't have an app you connect to. I think there is a physical attachment for this that lets you connect it to Wi-Fi or to an app. I've never invested in it. I've never actually even seen them for sale anywhere. I don't know if they actually exist. I might have dreamed that up. But like I said, this has been up until I recently, within the last 3 months, bought Lumix G9. I'm recording this on. This was my workhorse. It's the only camera I've ever done any semi-professional work with. I'm not a professional photographer. I've done a few things like weddings and eventy sort of stuff. But all of that was done with this camera. I've only really got the G9 because it has got more. I'm starting doing video sort of stuff, and it's got more video sort of. It's more able video camera than this is. But if all I was doing was stills photography, I probably would have just stuck with this. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is that this cost me, I think this cost me 300 quid, maybe a little bit less, maybe about 250 in that sort of region. 4 years ago. I looked at the other day on eBay, you can get a Nikon D3300 with the original 18 to 55mm kit lens. This is the 18 to 200 that I upgraded it to. You can get it with the original 18 to 55mm kit lens in half decent nick for £115. They do go for a bit more than that. Some of them go up closer to the 200 quid mark, because they've got the box, they've got extra batteries, they might have lens filters, they've got the lens hood hasn't been lost, because the cheaper ones tend to, if you don't have the lens hood. I remember I had to go out and buy, they're only like a couple of quid on Amazon, but I had to go buy a lens hood for my 18 to 55 because it didn't have one. Photo quality of this is brilliant. I mean, it's not a full frame, brand spanking new 80 megapixel medium format jobby, but for the sort of work I do, this was fine. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say, you should get. You should go out, if you don't know that you want to do photography, if you don't know for certain that you're going to click with it, or it's something that you're going to pick up and you're going to be any good at, get yourself a £100 to £200 shitbox camera that you don't mind. If you buy something for 150 quid and you don't use it, 6 weeks time, you're probably going to be able to flog it for 150 quid, if you can even be bothered to. Right? Even if you've got £1,000, £2,000 in your skyrocket that you're ready to spunk on a top-notch Lumix G9 or a GH5, or you want to go down the Nikon, Canon, Sony route, like an A7 whatever, or a 5D Mark, whatever you can get for that sort of money, don't do it. Not unless you know that camera fits your needs and you know how it works, you know how to use it, and you know that you want to actually get into photography. If you buy this £100 camera, even if you've got £2,000, you buy it, spend 10% of that budget on a camera like this that you don't give a shit about, then after 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, then you're like, oh, actually I am actually into this, I need this, that and the other sort of thing, then go get that camera. Then spend the rest of that, the 90% that's left of your budget, on either bits for that camera, because you'll probably find that camera does what you need it to do really, and you just want to get that lens, that lens, that lens, a decent tripod, shutter release, I mean that's pennies, other bits for that camera. Or you then go out and you spend your £1,800 on a Lumix G9, or I'm not trying to sell the Lumix G9, I love it, it's a great camera, and if Lumix would like to have a conversation with me, I'll be up there, we'll have no qualms. But yeah, I'm not trying to push specifically the Lumix G9, it's just that's the only other interchangeable change camera I've ever had, other than this Nikon D3300. That's it. I mean, the other thing, like, I'm precious about that G9. It only goes into my proper camera bags that are padded, or I make sure it's in a case. I've got no qualms with the build quality of the Lumix G9. It's a tank. It's dust and weather sealed, water and all that sort of stuff. It's robust. It's solid. I've got no qualms, but it's a very expensive bit of kit that I use all the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot of the time. I don't want it to get damaged. If it gets damaged, I can't afford to replace it. I'm scuppered. This, even though I love it to bits, it's my first camera, I'm never going to get rid of it. It'll get, at the moment it does B camera sort of stuff, so eventually if I get a second camera that is a B camera, this will get put up on a shelf somewhere. I might even frame it, put it on the wall, because I love it. But at the same time, I don't care about it getting too damaged, because it's 6 years old and it's a bit scuffed up. It's plastic. It doesn't feel cheap, but it's definitely plasticky. It's not metal. Like the G9's a magnesium alloy body, I think, or might even be a bit of aluminium in there. There's some plastic on there, but this is all plastic apart from that dial's metal. The ring mount for the lens is metal. That's it. They're the only two metal things that on the hot shoe is metal. It's just, but I don't care. I chuck this in my backpack. I chuck this in my gym bag, I chuck this on the back seat of my girlfriend's car. I don't care about it too much. If it was to break and stop working, like I said, I'd frame it, put it somewhere, I'd keep it as like an ornamenty sort of thing, a keepsake. But if it stops working as a camera, which it does do still really well, like the camera aspects, I'm sure I'll put some pictures up here and there. It takes great pictures, and the film's not too bad if you're okay with just doing 25 frames per second. I mean, used this to film stuff before I had the G9. And I've also used it to film stuff if I wanted the G9 in the frame, or I've wanted 2 different camera angles for stuff. I've got a GoPro that I use probably more for video stuff than this, definitely more for video stuff than this, but obviously there's stuff you can't do with a GoPro, like manual focusing sort of stuff and depth of focus, that I've used this for in the past. But by all means, go out and buy a Nikon D3300. you can get one for 100 to 150 quid. I bought it with the 18 to 55mm, realised that I wanted a bit more go out, more reach out and touch you zoom focus, so I got the 18 to 200. I think I bought the lens for the same price as the camera. I think the lens cost me 150 quid, but I covered 50 quid of that by selling the 18 to 55. You probably won't get 50 quid for that lens anymore. You're probably looking at more 20 to 30 quid, maybe less. But the other benefit of older, cheaper cameras is that the glass is out there in the market, has been for ages, so you can get older, lower quality lenses, not the proper Pro series lenses, for relatively cheap now. I mean, I've also got the 35mm, the 1.8, nice fast bit of glass. It's not ridiculously fast, but it does everything I need out of a prime. 35mm, I think you can get these for 30-40 quid, maybe less. I think I paid 80 quid for it when I got it. And I've got a Tamron 70 to 300, which is cheap because it is a cheap lens. It's very cheap, plasticky. I've literally just got it because of the 300mm range that can go on it. It's got no stabilisation on it as well, so you've got to use it with a tripod or a monopod. But yeah, and then the 18 to 200, which pretty much is the lens that just sits on the camera all the time because it does everything I need it to do. And they're cheap and they're plasticky, but they're quite solid. I mean, this is starting to, I don't know if you can see that, where the ring that the lens hood clips onto, and the lens filters screw into is coming loose, but that's not a physical part of the lens. The glass is not moving. But yeah, go out and get yourself a camera you don't really care about not using, because at the end of the day, you might think you want to be a street photographer and you start getting a camera and you end up doing more nature or landscape photography. Or if you start doing a certain type of photography and then realise you want to do a different type of photography, but you've bought a camera that's geared for one sort of thing, you don't use any of those bells and whistles. Right, Lumix G9, I've got it because I do a lot of video stuff. If I'd have gone out and bought that and then turned out actually I don't want to do video, all I do is take portraits of dogs, that's a mega overkill camera, and all the specs that are in it I don't need for doing portraits of dogs. And also there's always the thing that a good photographer doesn't need a good camera, and a good camera doesn't make a good photographer. Go out with the cheap shitbox camera. If it's not a Nikon, you're going to get cheap Canons in the same sort of price range as these old ones. I don't know Canons, I'm guessing like is it their T3s, the Rebel series, those sort of cameras. You might get some more features this one. You might be able to get a flip out screen maybe in that sort of price range, but on the whole, get yourself a cheaper camera and learn how to use that camera. Learn how aperture, shutter, that sort of stuff works. Like I said, this isn't aimed at someone who knows what all that is anyway. It's entirely possible you've never owned a camera, but you've used someone else's camera. And like I said, even if you want to spunk £2 on a camera, don't wait. Buy the cheap camera, maybe scratch that itch by buying yourself a second lens and a decent tripod. Probably wouldn't even bother saying going to buy a tripod. Half the people I know have tripods and never bloody use them. If you buy a ridiculously expensive camera that's got 1,000,001 settings on it and you don't know how half of them work, I mean, I don't use half the settings on my G9 because I'm still learning how they all work. But if you're a complete greenhorn newbie and you don't know what any of it does, it's going to put you off because you're going to feel like there's too much there to learn. With this, use literally off, on, press the button to focus, take a photo. You can do manual, play around with the aperture, play around with the shutter, stick it on program, automatic, and just shoot and learn how the camera works and how the zoom works and what you can focus with. Go into manual mode, start messing around with the ISO settings and all that sort of stuff. And then once you know how those sort of things work, you'll be better geared to move up to a better camera. So just let that money sit in your account, build an interest. If you've got £2 and you're itching to spunk on something, or spend it on your holiday. Spend it on going places with the shit camera, taking good photos. You can get so much more out of that, and you can learn the camera, you can learn the art of photography so much better by just having a cheap camera and then doing stuff with that camera than you are having a really expensive camera that you're either scared to take out the house, or don't know how to use properly, or that's just spend all your money on that, and then you find out, oh, actually, I want that. I need a 12mm lens, and I've only got a 24 to 120. Or I need a fisheye lens. I really need that. Or I need time lapse. This camera hasn't got time lapse, but I can't afford time lapse camera. I'm gonna have to sell this camera to get that camera. Get something cheap to start off with. You won't regret it. Because if you've got £2 to spend on an expensive camera, you ain't gonna regret 150 quid on a cheap little shitbox camera. And if all you've got is 150 to 200 quid, well, buy this now and carry on saving, and then put your savings to what you flog this for, if you ever do want to flog it. And there you go. Robert's your mother's brother. I bet you won't regret it. Trust me. Stand by me. Would I ever do you wrong? Yeah, so something a bit different this time. I've mostly been doing cooking stuff because I enjoy cooking, and during lockdown, cooking was something I could do to keep me going, keep me sane. And GoPro on the head was a nice, quick, easy way of doing that. But I have always wanted to start doing some stuff that's more photography or video related. I've even got some like camping, hiking, outdoorsy sort of stuff in the pipeline. So expect something a bit different to break up the monotony of just food related stuff. And once again, I am sorry about the sound quality. I reckon this will be alright. If it's not, then I've just wasted 20 minutes of my life, and I have to reshoot it all with the window closed later when it's cooler, and then I have to do even more lights. So it'll be just as fucking hot because I'll have a load of bloody lights. So that's a bit different. Yeah, I keep being told that I should tell people to subscribe. A link to the website, danhaverley.com. I've got some photo stuff up there, video stuff, and some food bloggy sort of stuff that really should do a bit of an update. Really, it's a bit old, but yeah, get in touch with me on there if you want, or comment on this, or send me a message, or email me. Instagram, follow me on there. Why not? What else is there? Yeah, hit a subscribe, smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, thumbs up this shit, share it, give it all away. Give it all away. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, anyway, alright. Bosh. Bish bosh on the roof.